Hello everyone and welcome back to the Retro Recall. I hope you're doing awesome. Today we have a real POS on the bench. And I don't mean piece of I mean point of sale. A cash register. This particular system I noticed on Facebook Marketplace. It was booted to a operating system desktop and I thought, that's pretty cool. What is it? And I was told it's a point of sale system that would have come out from a local Subway. So I thought that was pretty darn neat. And I figured for 25 Canadian dollars, it booted to an operating system. What else can we explore in this system? It must be a computer of some sort. So today on the Retro Recall, we're going to experience this particular system, go over it in detail, kind of look over all the different components and see exactly what this system has installed and determine what we're going to do with this computer. So you know what? We have lots to do. Let's get right to it. As I mentioned, this is a point of sale system. So we're going to go over this computer in kind of detail as we do with desktop computers or laptops or anything on this channel. But this system is a Par EverServ 7000 model 7700. That's what I have here for the details. There's not a lot of information, believe it or not, online for this. I do find the manual for it, and I do have a few of the components like the sales brochures, but I haven't found a lot of drivers and things like that. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit. So we're going to go over the system itself as we generally do on the channel. So the first thing here, we do have Par at the very top. That's a manufacturer's information or manufacturer's logo. And we do have what looks like a touchscreen. It is 15-inch in diameter, and that's good old matte glossy. I don't love the gloss, of course, but being a touchscreen, it has a little bit of a sheen to it. We also have this bezel that we have. It's quite dirty, the system overall. On the right side, we do have what looks like a card reader for swiping, say, credit cards, debit cards, things like that, accepting forms of payment. And it looks like some LEDs with some behind this kind of rubberized dome on the side. And along the bottom, we have please reprint receipts and attach the coupons, and it dies. It doesn't go any further. Okay, let's turn it around the side and see what else we have going on. So you can see the profile view of this particular point of sale system. So one thing I'll mention is the actual weight of the system, according to the manual, is 25.5 pounds, but it's all really concentrated here. And I believe the bulk of that weight is the stand, just to make sure it doesn't, tip over or anything like that. So you can see here we have a different view of the card reader, and this card reader is mounted on the side. So whether it was to allow upgradable options, or in case that this particular unit, stopped working or malfunctioned, you'd be able to replace it. There's wires coming out of the bottom down below here that plug into the interface. One for power and one for the communications. So definitely something that you could replace. Okay, along the back, we do have some additional components. And so I'm going to keep it on the side kind of angle here because we're going to talk about two different areas. So the stand itself has what looks like a customer interface. So this is where it would show the display of the cash. So it would tell you what your total was, change was, etc. Whatever that information you wanted to display via the point of sale software that would be installed in the system. But again, there's a wire coming from this as well. It looks like a DIN connection that goes to the interface on this kind of like main unit here. Along the back, we do have some ventilation. Looks like we have ventilation on the side for the card reader. And I'm saying it's for the card reader, but really, I believe it's for the computer itself or for the point of sale. And it utilizes the card reader to push out air through this area. So there must be a fan inside and then some kind of like ductwork inside to allow it to come out this way. So you're not actually blocking anything there. Okay, along the back, it looks like we have some sort of interface panel that we could see inside this unit as well. And then also to note, this is a tilt unit. So you do have the ability to take it and move it up and down based on, what viewing angle you'd want on the other side. Obviously, this is the customer view, but also this has 4 mounts on the back, so it is Visa mountable. So you'd be able to, at least what it says in the brochure, you'd be able to mount it on the wall, mount it from the ceiling using like a different type of vertical mount, etc. So it's nice to be able to have that flexibility. This unit does have this base stand as an option. Obviously, it's included with this unit, but it does give you that option. Okay, continue along the side. We have some more exciting stuff. So we just have the continued profile on this side. Obviously, this side does not have that card reader. It is an open panel, and it does look like it's missing the panel. It did have what looks like some sort of plastic bezel that would be installed here. Unfortunately, it is missing. I actually thought this bottom panel was missing as well, but it's just something that pops up and can be slid in and out for cable management. But on the side, it looks like we have SATA 1 and SATA 2. So it does have the ability to support dual hard disks. Now, I do know what's installed. We're going to go over that in a few moments when we start to look through the system and after we go through the ports. But yeah, it does have the ability to have the dual SATA drives. Okay, while we're doing this, I'm just going to pop it up kind of in a horizontal position so we can get a better look at all the multitude of ports that are on this computer. Okay, so we have a different angle set up so everyone can kind of see what's going on. So we do have a multitude of ports on this system. I keep on calling it a computer, a system, a point of sale. I mean, all the above. Just my brain is wired for computer. So when I see something like this, I don't really consider the point of sale aspect. I had to do a little bit of research on this computer or on this point of sale specifically to be able to speak to some of these things. So on this side, we do have, it looks like a power wire that goes to a power brick, similar to that of a laptop power brick that you would see connected to a notebook PC. So it is kind of housed inside this plastic chassis. And then we have a wire coming out that's plugged into a power bar currently. That's why you see the red light on. But it does have the power adapter as well as 2 USB ports. And the label up top shows it's for a keyboard and mouse connectivity. It's specifically saying, hey, I've dedicated 2 ports to this, so you can connect a USB mouse and keyboard to this system. And quite frankly, that was quite handy. When I first got this computer, the very first thing I looked at before I took it home was, can I connect a USB keyboard and mouse to the computer? Everything else can be solved after that. We have, it looks like 2 USB 3 connections. We have a 10-100-1000, so a gigabit Ethernet connector that we have. We have 2 RJ45 connections on the left. There's 4 total, but these 2 specifically, it states that they're 2 comms. So communication RJ40 used for RJ45. And then we also have 2 additional RJ45 designed for comms. But again, one's for 12-volt power delivery and one's for 5-volt power delivery. I imagine that is for power over Ethernet for various different types of devices that could connect to this system directly. Now, earlier I had mentioned that back customer-facing interface panel had a DIN connection going to it. So this is the DIN connection that we have here. That's the interface that allows the system to communicate with that particular device. Now, I just realized I mentioned over here that this bottom power was the power for the unit. It is not. It is this one over here. This is actually the power that is used for the customer-facing panel. We also have audio out, which is nice, so we can actually hook up external speakers to this if we wanted to. We do have a DVI connection, so we can actually have a secondary monitor connected to this system. I think that's pretty cool. Now, I don't know if the use case for this would have been for, say, an external TV that you'd hook up a DV wire, so you'd have like your menu up on there. I don't know if the point of sale software allowed you to do that or not, but I would imagine that that's probably what that would be used for. Okay, continuing on. It looks like we have another set of USBs. 3 additional USB ports with a special connector. And I think we saw one of these on those Dell N series systems because they were used for potentially to be used for point of sale systems as well. And someone educated me on these, what these may be used for. Someone had indicated that you could actually use, like, say, a barcode reader. So if you wanted to utilize this for, say, like a product, selling product, you could actually scan the barcodes utilizing these ports. So they would allow the power delivery and the data communication all within one connection. So on this particular side, we do have the 24-volt 3 amp power delivery via USB. We have 12 volt 1.5 amp via USB, and then we have another 12 volt 1.5 amp via USB. So being able to have those connections allow you to hook up additional connections, which I thought was pretty neat. And over here we have CD1 and CD2. It looks like RJ11 connections. These are based on what I read for cache drawers. So whether it took up one or two, it would communicate with the cache drawer for any sort of, say, hey, opening up the cache when you hit the cache on the interface of the point of sale software. So I think that's pretty neat as well. Looks like we have additional ventilation along the bottom. I don't know if this is Kensington lock or not by the shape of this being right in the metal. There's no indication or anything written. We also have what looks like, and it's a punch out for a potential expansion for this unit. We also have a 12 volt 2 amp out power adapter here, so we could hook up an additional anything requiring power specifically for the barrel connection. And then of course we have our main power. It actually looks like one of those older Lenovo type business connections that like a laptop adapter would have, so neat to have that. We also have some indicators here. So we have what looks like a standby light on, which is our red power that we have showing. We also have HDD, so our hard disk drive connection activity light. And then we also have our power here as well. So it's interesting to have all of those three along the bottom. I mean, you never see them, from the interface from an end user, but if you were troubleshooting this unit and you really required to have access to visualize those, you could flip it up like this, hook up some external peripherals, including a monitor, and do some troubleshooting with the unit. And we also have our power on off switch as well. Okay, let's take the back off for a moment and just kind of see what the expansion possibilities are behind this panel. Just a couple of screws by the looks of things, and it's just raising up as we go. Okay, so yeah, so we have some access to some things. Let me zoom in a little bit and get a better view. Okay, and here we are, definitely interesting. So it looks like we have a couple of expansion ports for our memory, or at least our memory slots. So I'm wondering what we could do. It looks like it's SO-DIMM memory. I wonder what we could do to potentially upgrade this memory in this computer, at least to 8 gigabytes of memory. That would be very helpful. There's some surface mount capacitors that we have. They look to be okay. Again, hard to see right now without actually taking this whole system apart. We do have what looks like our M-SATA connectivity here with a couple of different latches. So one looks like it's not populated on the board and one is. So you'd have to get an M-SATA to fit that where it would latch down and hold, or move that latch down on the PCB. And of course our hard disk on the our hard disk here. And it looks like the hard disk is plugged into, or both of them I should say, are plugged into this riser card that we have into the motherboard. I'd be really interested to see exactly how this would come out, disassembly, to be able to access this board, take it out, because again, having the ability to upgrade the memory, switch over the hard disks, or at the very least switch into M-SATA, and of course the CPU, which I'm looking down, you can't see down inside. Let's see if I can swap this up a little bit. There we go. Looks like the CPU and heatsink are all right in this area. So it'd be interesting to be able to access that and potentially upgrade. The other nice thing about this is, I said I would come back to this, I just swapped it around, is we do have the SATA 1 and SATA 2, but we have the kind of like this little safety latch that's in place to hold them down basically in their slots, but also the fact there's a missing front or missing bezel. But if you look like this, you just switch it up like that, you can actually pull these right out. And there we are. We just have our 2.5-inch drives, and this shows manufactured August 2016, and it looks like it is a 320 gigabyte hard disk. And we do have, I believe, both populated. Well, I mean, we'd have to, because we see it from the back and the top here. But again, I don't know if these are rated. We'll have to look as we go. Hopefully, you can get this back down. There we go. Let's see if we can pull up this one as well. And sure enough, it's the exact same drive, same manufacturing date, August 21st, which happens to be my birthday, by the way. That's pretty cool. I wasn't born in 2016, but that's my birth date. And then, of course, we have 320 gigabyte as well. So, yeah, we'll just pop that back in. But it'd be interesting because it says if it's populated with 2 drives, it's generally in a RAID configuration. I have my doubts about that, but yeah. we'll go from there. Okay, let's get this position back in a lock position. There we go. We don't want to accidentally have those come out. So I'm going to get this back panel put back on, and then we're going to see if we can get this system fired up. Okay, we're back with kind of the system reoriented in a way that we can see what's going on. So the very first thing I'm going to do is just power it on via that switch. And it fires up just, it sounds just like a computer booting up with hard disks and fans and everything like that. So it looks like we have the Par logo. Okay, so we have Par EverServ 7700. I'm just going to click on boot for a second so we can see what the boot menu looks like. I didn't want to go too far because I don't have like a keyboard or anything hooked up, so I can't really pause it. So I'm going to be using the interface on the screen. Okay, so it shows our boot menu. So it shows that we do have the ability to boot from 2 individual hard disks. It says Toshiba MQ01A BF032. It looks like both of the exact same model. I'm not a fan of that. If you're having any sort of RAID configurations, I always try to use different types of drives from different dates and manufacturing. I'll talk about the RAID in a moment. And then we also have an IBA GE slot, which looks like our PXE network. So we do have network boot ability on this system. And I talked about that because, again, the system has 2 hard disks. And one of the features of this unit at the point of sale is that from Par, you were able to order these in a configuration, a RAID 1 configuration specifically to allow mirroring. In case one of the drives died, it is your point of sale. Specifically, it's your only one. You have the ability to swap out a drive, rebuild the RAID, and you're up and running again, as opposed to everything just dying. Now, my understanding based on what I've gone through here is that I don't believe it's in the RAID 1 configuration, but we'll touch on that in a little bit. Another thing I'll mention is we were talking about the card reader. The card reader, again, it was included with this particular model, the 7700, but the system also had the ability to have different types of other peripherals that would come with this computer. So, that customer display in the back, you actually have the option to hook up a full color 12-inch display as well. And you'd use those interfaces along the bottom of the unit to connect that component into this point of sale. So these are all the different things that when you're going and you're going to order something off the menu or swipe your card and things like that, that's how you would interact with this particular unit. Okay, I'm going to hit exit here on this because we're not going to boot from anything yet. One thing I'll mention as well is, let's click on setup. One thing I'll mention as well with this computer, it also came with the wireless option, so you can have network connectivity via wireless card, as well as biometrics. So in order to be able to interface with the system, you had to use your thumbprint, as well as Bluetooth. So I think it's pretty cool that these systems had all those options. So it looks like our date is holding true. So it is showing 6/26. So today is June 26th when I'm recording this video. And then also it's showing 8:52 p.m. And that is correct. So it says here the boot device is the Toshiba MQ01A BF032 device. So we also have after power loss, power off. So you have different options with that. So if we click on that, we'll go down. It says next item. Let's go down to that and we'll go plus minus. So after power loss, we want to power back on or last state. Or power off. It was on power off, so we'll leave it at that. SATA mode is AHCI. PXE boot option is disabled right now, but you'd have the option to boot off the network. And then our customer display is F7621F/20 VFD. So it is detecting that other screen that we have along the back is installed. So it says EverServ 7700 model M7700-20-029. So there are different models based on the configurations that you could get with this computer. So it's pretty neat that we have that. The MAC address, total system memory is showing 4 gigabytes of memory. CPU type is an Intel Core i5-2390T CPU running at 2.7 gigahertz. Say that 10 times fast. So we do have a second gen i5 running at 2.7 gigahertz in this computer. That really opens up the possibility of, if this is truly a computer and motherboard and all those good things, can this be upgraded? So yeah, and my wheelhouse is turning when it comes to this stuff. Okay, so we also have mSATA, no device found. So apparently you can connect an mSATA hard disk here as well. And of course we have our 2 SATA hard disks installed. Okay, I think the next step now is to see if we can boot into something. So let's hit exit and see what happens. Do you want to quit? Yes. And see what comes up on the computer. And it says here, launch startup repair recommended or start Windows normally. Now, I don't have a keyboard plugged into this. So this was never plugged in, and I don't see a timer counting down, so it's not going to just automatically choose an option for me. So let me get a keyboard, and while I'm at it, a mouse connected to those USB ports that are dedicated specifically for those, and we'll go from there. Okay, and we are all set up now. So we do have what looks like our keyboard and mouse installed. And as soon as I plugged them into the system, it went beep. So it automatically detected that there was a device connected into those USB ports. So I do have launch, startup repair, and start Windows normally. And the USB connections worked immediately. And again, being a point of sale, it's just what it is. But being able to connect the USB peripherals to this really opens up the possibilities. And that's what I said to you at the very beginning of this video, is when I went to the person's house to pick this up off of Marketplace, I saw those USB ports. So I said, you know what? It automatically opens up the expansion possibilities. Okay, I'm going to start Windows normally, hit enter, and see what happens. It looks like Windows 7's installed based on this interface here, but we're going to see as we go. Okay, and we're booted up to an operating system, as I mentioned. So we do have Windows 7 Professional installed. We have two separate icons. Looks like owner level. So we have owner as an interface. And of course, my touchscreen is not working at the moment. I don't, it doesn't give me an option to the function. Yeah, we don't have that working just yet. I don't know if that's a driver that gets installed or not. And then we also have our POS support, and it says Subway support. Okay, let's go into the Subway support profile. Okay, and here we are booted to the desktop, and the background originally had a lot of information that was populated here. So it would tell you the CPU, the RAM, the version of the BIOS, the version of the operating system, the data was released, all those things. But it also showed store information and host information, so I didn't want that displayed on the video. So I just changed the background to just a generic one for now. But it would have been populated when the technician would have logged in or logged in using TeamViewer to be able to say, okay, well, what's this particular unit? Ah, I see all the information directly readily available for me to help troubleshoot the unit. Okay, and we also have, looks like a calibration software installed. This calibration software, let me just click on it. Yeah, it may even need calibration because it doesn't exactly line up with where I touched. But this is the software that's proprietary, I believe, to Par. So to touch the target for several seconds and then lift off. So I'll touch the target, touch the target for several seconds, then lift off. Okay, do the same thing over here. So this must be a like I said, calibration unit, calibration software for this particular hardware. And that's the software that makes this system unique and really is required. Calibration completed successfully. Do you want to test the calibration? No, we'll accept it. That's fine. Calibration completed successfully. So that's the software I'm going to try to image on the system, so that there's also some drivers that are associated with that activate this touch panel. And yeah, and to my understanding, it's hard to find those drivers, so I'll have to try to do an archive of those. Okay, so we have a bunch of other software in here. We have Acrobat Reader, we have TeamViewer, we have Subway POS training, so point of sale training. So I saw this on the other profile as well, along with an icon that had the POS software, Subway POS software. This allows you to do some training, obviously, for new employees to be able to learn the interface. Okay, let's click on the start menu and see what we have going on. So I'll just do a little white balance there. So calculator, magnifier, and calibrations, that's that software we talked about earlier. POS support, that's our account, documents, pictures, music, computer, control panel. So it's your typical Windows 7, very basic interface overlay we have going on. I'm just going to right click and go down to properties, so we can go into the computer properties here. So it looks like we have Partech Inc. as a manufacturer, so it gives you all the information. We do have our i5 CPU running at 2.7 gigahertz with 4 gigabytes of memory. It is a 32-bit OS that's installed. Shows our support information, domain information for the computer, and all those good things. Let's go into Device Manager and see what we have installed. Okay, we have our device manager. So it looks like we have biometrics installed. So I said earlier that that was an option. However, I don't know if this is the biometric thing. I don't know if it's just a light indicator or there's biometrics installed somewhere, but the drivers are installed for this. So it's interesting. Okay, under our disk drives, we do have our two Toshiba drives that are here. That's awesome. Our display adapters, we have our Intel HD graphics, so we have integrated graphics. Our human interface devices are two USB devices we connected, our keyboard and our mouse. ID tappy controllers, so we do have the controllers installed, keyboards we have installed, mice we have installed. So a 3M micro touch serial sensor and our mouse. I imagine this is the sensor it's referring to. And then our monitors, let's see what comes up in monitor. Just generic monitor, it's all it's installed. Network adapters, we have our Intel gigabit network connection. So more and more and more computer as we go. Processors, we have our quad-core Intel i5 2390T CPU at 2.7 gigahertz, which we knew about earlier. Looks like we have Realtek high-definition audio integrated as well. We did see that audio out port, so I'm going to test that out in a little bit here. And of course, system devices are all installed and our USB. So the nice thing about this is that this system has a full set of drivers installed, no issues. It would be really cool to have something like a restore disk of some sort on this. So if you know where I can source that, I have searched archive. I haven't been able to find anything. So if you know where I can source a restoration for an M7700 point of sale, that would be pretty cool. And the other thing I'll mention is that this is Windows 7 Professional that's installed in this computer, but it does say in the documentation that this computer had the option to have XP embedded, XP Pro embedded, Windows embedded, POS Ready 7, POS Ready 2009. I'm not exactly sure what those operating systems are, but also Windows 8 Professional when it was released, as well as Linux. So if you wanted Linux installed on this computer, you could. And even arguably now we could. Pretty awesome. I think this is pretty neat. Now, hey, you know what? We can't do all this work and go over this whole system without playing something on it, right? Let's see if we can play some Unreal Tournament 2004 on this point of sale system.
Play.
And here we are at the end of our video, and that was an absolute blast. The fact that I'm playing Unreal Tournament 2004 on a Subway point of sale system. I am astonished. I loved it. It was such a neat experience. And I love being able to bring this stuff to you guys, honestly. I mean, we just did a kind of a high level view on this computer today because I believe that this system deserves some TLC. I really wanted to see what we could do with this computer. I did show earlier we have access to that top panel, which gives us access to the M-SATA port, as well as the two RAM slots. I would argue that we could actually do a little more disassembly and see if we could actually get to that CPU and potentially upgrade the CPU on this computer. I had to do some more research to see what voltages there are and what the limitations of this particular system would be. But again, being able to use a point of sale computer for fun is pretty cool. And you could even, with the i5, and you could potentially go to a newer operating system or even Linux and take advantage of today's internet on this computer. The sky's the limit a little bit on this one, because I don't know what we're going to do with this just yet, but I believe that this computer deserves a full restoration, some TLC, and potentially some upgrades to see what we can do with this computer. That said, if you liked today's video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Makes a world of difference, helps this channel grow. We just recently surpassed 12,000 subscribers, so thank you to everyone for indulging me and bringing this content to you. Please leave a comment down below. Have you ever used one of these Par M7700 systems, whether as a point of sale, or do you do something like this where you took it home and turn it into this? And what are the limitations? Let me know down in the comments. I love reading them. I love the interaction on the channel. I respond to every one of them. Always making new content. We'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.